Afghans are not ready to handle their own security? Let's put that question to Dr. Jill Stein of the Green Party.
You know, I don't think we should be waiting until 2014 to bring the troops home. We should bring them home now. We should have brought them home years ago, in fact. Currently, the CIA estimates there might be 50 to 100 al-Qaeda operatives in Afghanistan. Yet we have 70,000 U.S. troops, at least as many NATO troops there, in addition, I'm sorry, it's about 90,000 U.S. paid contractors in addition to 70,000 U.S. troops, plus another 40,000 NATO troops. The point is there really is no exit strategy here, because this turning over of the war effort to Afghanistan is not working, in the same way that the effort to turn over the policing of Iraq is not working. And in fact, the U.S. program to train Iraqi military and police has been cut down to 10% of what was intended, because it's just not working. And in Afghanistan, we actually saw recently the U.S. passed the 2,000 level for military deaths. And that person, that soldier who was killed as number 2,000, in fact died at the hands of Afghan police forces that he was supposedly training. And we're seeing more and more of such a problem now. And in the same way in Pakistan, that 75% of Pakistanis now identify the U.S. as the enemy. This policy of military intervention to try to stabilize a country, to try to create a democracy, it's just not working. There is no democracy now in Afghanistan. It continues to teeter on the brink of civil war. Women's rights have not been restored in Afghanistan. This, you know, the war effort has essentially been a failure. We should move out, and we should move out now. Barack Obama, in fact, negotiated an additional decade to keep contractors and troops and training officers on the ground. So there is no guarantee whatsoever that either Barack Obama or Mitt Romney, under the current arrangements, would even come out in 2014. There is no exit strategy. It's time to put an end to this ongoing, misguided, and harmful war.
Rocky Anderson of the Justice Party.
Well, let's not forget that 4 years ago, Barack Obama, the candidate, promised that he would get us out of Afghanistan. He supported the surge, sent 30,000 additional troops, and I have yet to hear a coherent explanation as to why we're there. What is our mission? And tonight he said, we've forgotten why we're there. And I think that is true. Now, what is magic about a 2014 withdrawal date? If it were my son or daughter, I would be outraged that they've set what seems to be a capricious time for withdrawal, while we're still exposing our armed forces to what is going on in Afghanistan, exposing the Afghani people to more of this tragedy. We are hated more and more all the time because of our perceived, and it's a real occupation in Afghanistan. How could they perceive it to be any different? And now the troops that we're supposed to be training are killing our troops. The defections are greater day by day in Afghanistan. It's an utter failure. And we're not getting anywhere. I think it's a real betrayal by our president to simply say there's a time in the future after this election where we will withdraw, and now we hear Mitt Romney just basically saying the same thing. Now, Mitt Romney noted that Pakistan is a nuclear-armed country. I'm glad he realizes that. One just wonders, though, why would you turn the population of a nation that is nuclear-armed against you by engaging in the kinds of belligerent conduct that we have, including killing innocent men, women, and children with unmanned drones in Pakistan, as well as 3 other sovereign nations. So let's end the wasteful spending. Let's end the waste of lives and all the other horrible injuries that have been suffered, both psychological and physically, and invest the money that we're wasting there now in jobs, invest the money in education, and build our own nation and restore our own economy, because that can be done, and we will look back once again in history and say, why weren't we out of there earlier and attending to what we need to do to build up our nation and give the people of this country what they deserve?
And likewise, we should recognize what is actually the greatest threat to our troops and the American military right now. It's not only the risk of being shot and killed by Afghani forces, but it's actually the risk of suicide, both for our soldiers in the field as well as the soldiers who've come home and those who've not gone over. That this war is a tragedy, not only for the Iraqis who are caught in the crossfire, but it's very much a tragedy for our soldiers, so many of whom have been conscripted by the economic draft and by the failure to provide education and to provide jobs for our own soldiers who are going into this thankless and disastrous war with high rates of war crimes and civilian deaths. This is an extremely tragic situation for the Afghanis who are victims of that war, but also for our own soldiers who very much do not want to be there. So it's yet another reason why we need to be on the right side of history, to bring our troops home now and to bring our war dollars home now, as well as bringing our troops home from over 1,000 bases around the world in over 140 countries where we do not need to be. We need to bring those forces and resources home now to build true security here at home by creating a Green New Deal and creating those jobs that our soldiers need so that they're not conscripted into the army out of desperation to start with, and a Green New Deal that creates a green economy that makes these wars for oil obsolete to start with.
Very quickly, Rocky Anderson to respond.
This is all another sign of long-term empire building by the United States. We've got to put this in a historical context. In 1953, the CIA overthrew the Mossadegh government in Iran. It was a democratically elected government. And then the next year we went up to Guatemala and did the same thing and put in place a military government at the behest of United Fruit Company. This has been a matter of corporate interests betraying the interests of the American people, and our government falling in line with those who had the money and the influence to get our government to do their bidding. It is time that it stops once and for all. We end that empire building, and we end this hostility towards so many people that is, in the long run, undermining our nation's security. Our children and later generations deserve far better than that.
You are tuned into Democracy Now!'s expanding the debate coverage as we include third-party candidates in the third and final presidential debate. Jill Stein of the Green Party, Rocky Anderson of the Justice Party. We're in San Rafael, California. We're going back to debate moderator Bob